What if the greatest risk of artificial intelligence is not that machines become too intelligent, but that humans become too comfortable with not thinking deeply enough? AI can generate answers before you define the problem, build strategies before you test assumptions, produce confident recommendations before you examine evidence, and make weak reasoning look finished. It can make shallow thinking appear sophisticated, incomplete analysis appear comprehensive, and ordinary bias appear neutral, because the language sounds polished, structured, and professional. This is where modern leadership changes. In an AI-driven world, you are no longer valued only for how much information you can access, remember, or produce. Information is becoming abundant. Explanation is becoming cheap. Polished communication is becoming instant. What becomes scarce is disciplined human judgment. You may be an executive, leader, creator, coach, counselor, educator, manager, engineer, or decision maker. Your responsibility is no longer only to ask AI for output. Your responsibility is to evaluate whether the output deserves trust, whether the reasoning is sound, whether the assumptions are visible, whether the consequences are acceptable, and whether the decision improves human agency or merely makes control more efficient. That is why critical thinking is not an academic exercise anymore. It is a survival discipline for leadership, education, governance, technology, business, and human development. The 10 standards you must embody are clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, logic, breadth, depth, significance, completeness, and fairness. These are not decorative words. These are operating standards for responsible intelligence in the 21st century. Let us begin with clarity. Clarity means you know what you are actually saying, asking, or deciding. Most leadership language sounds intelligent until someone asks what it means in practice. Transformation, innovation, optimization, empowerment, agility, and future readiness may sound impressive, but they often hide confusion. If you say, we need to become an AI-first organization, I will ask, AI first in which process, for which purpose, for whose benefit, with what safeguards, and under whose accountability? A vague prompt can produce a polished answer, but the original confusion may remain untouched. AI can organize unclear thinking into clean paragraphs. That does not mean the thinking became clear. Clarity forces you to define the real problem, the real purpose, the real boundary, the real consequence, and the real responsibility. Without clarity, every decision becomes easier to sell and harder to examine. Next comes accuracy. A plausible statement is not necessarily true. AI produces language that appears likely, not truth that is automatically verified. It can combine accurate facts with a false conclusion, repeat outdated information, invent details, omit context, or express uncertainty with inappropriate confidence. As a leader, you must ask, how do we know this? You must separate verified facts from estimates, assumptions, interpretations, and predictions. You must understand that confidence in tone is not evidence. Accuracy keeps decision-making connected to reality. Without accuracy, strategy becomes theater, automation becomes scalable error, and leadership becomes impression management. Then comes precision. Accuracy tells you whether something is broadly true. Precision tells you exactly what is true, how much is true, under what conditions it is true, and whether the claim is specific enough to act upon. If someone says the project is delayed, that may be accurate, but it is not precise. Which activity is delayed? By how much? What caused it? What is the critical path impact? What recovery action is realistic? What new risk will recovery create? If someone says AI will improve productivity, that may sound useful, but what does productivity mean? Output per employee, cycle time, defect reduction, response time, decision quality, reduced administrative burden, or something else. Precision converts intention into accountability. It demands numbers where numbers are justified, ranges where uncertainty remains, and clear commitments where action is expected. It also prevents false certainty because not every exact-looking number is based on real analysis. Now, relevance. AI can generate more information than any leader can read. That creates a new problem. The challenge is no longer access to information. The challenge is attention. Relevance asks whether the information actually matters to the decision. What evidence would change the conclusion? What issue is being avoided? What is interesting but not important? What is urgent but not significant? What is being discussed because it is easier than the real problem? A long report can be irrelevant. A short question can be decisive. If employees are burned out and leadership discusses wellness apps, motivational content, and resilience training while ignoring workload, staffing, role clarity, and management behavior, the conversation may be active but irrelevant. Relevance protects attention from noise. In the AI age, attention becomes a leadership resource because whatever receives attention begins to define reality. Then comes logic. Logic asks whether conclusions follow from reasons. Smooth language is not the same as sound reasoning. AI can generate coherent narratives that hide unsupported leaps, weak causality, and contradictions. A company may claim it values innovation while punishing failure. It may claim it values people while treating training as an avoidable cost. It may claim AI will free people for creative work while removing the time, autonomy, and psychological safety creativity requires. These are not communication problems. These are logical contradictions. Logic also asks whether the objective itself makes sense. A system can optimize the wrong target perfectly. A platform can maximize engagement and produce addiction. A company can minimize labor cost and destroy institutional competence. A public system can optimize compliance and weaken trust. Efficiency in service of the wrong purpose is not intelligence. It is disciplined misdirection. Now, breadth. A narrow answer can be correct and still be dangerous. Breadth requires you to examine multiple stakeholders, disciplines, contexts, and time horizons. If you automate work only through the lens of cost and productivity, you will miss worker capability, customer experience, operational resilience, cybersecurity, local economic effects, and long-term trust. If you adopt AI in education only through the lens of speed and completion, you may miss the loss of struggle through which learning, reasoning, and intellectual independence are developed. Breadth asks who is not in the room, which discipline has not been consulted, which community will live with the consequences, which perspective appears inconvenient because it interrupts the preferred decision. AI can generate stakeholder lists, but generated perspectives are not the same as human voices. You still need listening, dialogue, participation, and accountability. Then comes depth. Depth asks whether you are treating symptoms or understanding systems. A shallow analysis of burnout recommends wellness tools. A deep analysis asks whether targets are unrealistic, staffing is inadequate, technology has increased workload, incentives reward urgency, or leadership behavior has damaged trust. A shallow analysis of AI adoption asks why people resist change. A deep analysis asks whether the technology deserves trust, whether workers were included, whether the risks are real, and whether leadership has been honest about consequences. AI is strong at surface coherence. It can summarize any topic quickly, but fluency is not mastery. Familiarity with terminology is not expertise. Depth requires patience, domain knowledge, practical exposure, and the willingness to remain with hard questions before rushing toward closure. Some difficulty is wasteful. Other difficulty is the process by which judgment is formed. When you remove all intellectual struggle, you may also remove the conditions through which humans become competent. Now, significance. Not everything measurable matters equally. AI can measure clicks, conversion, time, output, response rate, and engagement. It cannot decide whether dignity, autonomy, trust, compassion, ecological balance, or social cohesion should matter more. Significance asks what deserves priority. Which risk is irreversible? Which capability will be hard to rebuild? Which value must not be traded for minor optimization? Which silent long-term trend matters more than the loud current crisis? Organizations reveal what they truly value through budgets, incentives, attention, and protection, not through slogans. If safety is called a priority but speed receives the reward, speed is the real priority. Significance keeps intelligence connected to purpose. Then, completeness. A decision can be clear, accurate, precise, and logical, but still incomplete. Completeness asks whether the analysis includes enough necessary information, enough consequences, enough stakeholders, and enough life cycle thinking to justify the decision. An AI automation plan may include technology, cost, and productivity, while omitting transition support, human review, knowledge retention, cybersecurity, legal exposure, operational failure modes, and the emotional reality of people affected. A document may be finished while the thought remains incomplete. Omission can mislead more effectively than falsehood. A claim can be true and still distort reality because the decisive context has been excluded. Completeness asks, what has not been considered? What cost has been transferred elsewhere? What future problem is being created? What failure mode has been ignored? Who pays for the benefit? Responsible leadership does not need perfect knowledge, but it needs enough understanding to carry consequence honestly. Finally, fairness. Fairness is where critical thinking becomes civilizational. Fairness asks whether reasoning has been distorted by power, prejudice, self-interest, or selective empathy. Who benefits? Who carries risk? Who can challenge the decision? Who must trust without explanation? Who is visible as a stakeholder and who is treated as a data point? Technical fairness is not enough. A statistically balanced model can still serve an unjust purpose. A perfectly accurate surveillance system can still violate freedom. An unbiased employee monitoring tool can still create an oppressive workplace. Fairness asks you to reverse positions. Would you accept this process if your livelihood depended on a decision you could not inspect? Would you support this surveillance system if your opponent controlled it? Would you trust this health model if someone you loved was misclassified by it? Fairness requires more than equal language. It requires contestability, transparency, appeal, participation, and consequence sharing. Now understand this clearly. These standards do not work separately. A clear statement may be inaccurate. An accurate statement may be irrelevant. A relevant statement may lack depth. A deep analysis may be narrow. A broad analysis may ignore what is significant. A complete analysis may still be unfair. A precise model may calculate the wrong objective perfectly. Critical thinking is not a menu. It is a system. This is why prompt engineering is not enough. You can write better prompts and receive better outputs, but if your purpose is weak, your assumptions are hidden, your values are confused, and your accountability is avoided, AI will only help you scale poor judgment. The deeper discipline is judgment engineering. Judgment engineering means you know how to frame problems, define standards, validate evidence, test consequences, include affected people, and remain accountable for decisions. Before using AI for consequential work, you must ask, what is the real purpose of this task? Which standards must the output satisfy? What expertise is needed to validate it? Who will be affected? Who remains accountable when the system is wrong? This is the line between cognitive assistance and cognitive surrender. AI assists you when it expands your capacity while you retain understanding and responsibility. You surrender when you accept output because independent judgment feels slower, harder, or less convenient. If you cannot explain the reasoning without the system, you have surrendered understanding. If you cannot tell whether the answer is wrong, you have surrendered validation. If you present generated work as your judgment without examining it, you have surrendered authorship while keeping accountability. That is dangerous because the leader remains responsible for a decision the leader did not truly make. So what must modern humans become? You must become better at framing problems, not merely answering questions. You must become stronger at evaluating evidence, not merely collecting information. You must distinguish fluency from understanding, prediction from truth, optimization from purpose, and productivity from progress. Executives must learn to question the objective before funding the system. Leaders must learn to protect human capability, not only reduce cost. Creators must learn not to manipulate attention simply because algorithms reward it. Coaches must help people develop agency, not dependency. Counselors must resist premature labels because human beings are deeper than patterns. Engineers and managers must preserve verification, maintainability, and safety even when automation appears faster. AI should remove unnecessary drudgery. It should not remove the cognitive experiences through which humans become capable of judgment, responsibility, and self-government. Without these standards, AI may increase abundance while concentrating ownership. It may remove work while preserving insecurity. It may accelerate content while weakening wisdom. It may optimize systems while eroding trust. It may make control more efficient while calling it progress. With these standards, AI can support better education, better governance, better engineering, better management, better coaching, better creativity, better community building, and better human development. Do not ask only what AI can do. Ask what it should do. Ask who it serves. Ask what it enables. Ask what it quietly destroys. Ask whether it expands human agency or replaces it. The future does not need humans competing with AI by imitating machines. The future needs humans who develop what machines must never be permitted to own: purpose, responsibility, ethical judgment, social imagination, and conscious choice. Use AI, but do not surrender to it. Welcome speed where speed helps. Demand slowness where judgment requires time. Automate repetition, but protect responsibility. Generate options, but choose with conscience. Build intelligent systems, but become wiser humans. That is the leadership test of the 21st century. The goal is not to create machines that appear more human. The goal is to ensure humans do not become less human in their presence. If this helped you rethink critical thinking, leadership, and AI applications for the 21st century, like this podcast, share it with executives, leaders, creators, coaches, counselors, engineers, and educators who are shaping the future of work and society. Subscribe to the channel for deeper education and training content. Get in touch for progressive leadership, management, engineering design, and automation learning pathways. And follow me on my LinkedIn newsletter for the full article series and deeper frameworks. Add your view in the comments. Which critical thinking standard is most neglected today? Where have you seen AI create the appearance of intelligence without real understanding? And how should we redesign AI applications to strengthen human autonomy, creativity, community, and responsible leadership?